This is the military dog even the FBI can't afford. He's trained to detect explosives, attack on command, and parachute into enemy territory. But he doesn't serve the police. He doesn't serve civilians. He serves only the world's most elite special forces. And he costs more than a Tesla. But to understand how a single dog can become a weapon worth more than a car, we need to look at the dogs of the most elite and most expensive special forces on Earth, starting with the one that once jumped from a helicopter into active enemy fire. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now let's get started. Number 10, Belgian Malinois Kilo, the dog that took a bullet in Afghanistan. You don't send a dog like Kilo into a war zone unless failure is not an option. He wasn't just fast, he was surgically trained to jump from helicopters, track insurgents, and strike without hesitation. He didn't bark, he didn't flinch. He only moved when his handler moved. Because Kilo wasn't a pet, he was a weapon, forged, conditioned, and deployed by the British Special Air Service, one of the most feared special forces units in the world. On the day it happened, Kilo's team was carrying out a nighttime raid deep inside Taliban territory. The target was a weapons cache hidden inside a village compound, protected by a network of tunnels and guards trained to kill on sight. As the SAS team rappelled down under the cover of darkness, Kilo jumped with them. No muzzle, no leash, just a cryptic attack command sent through his headset. The moment his paws hit the ground, Kilo surged ahead of the team. He was trained to lead, not just as a physical force, but as the unit's first line of defense. He breached the first entry point, silently took down a guard, and then waited, still as stone, for the next signal. But as they pushed deeper into the compound, something went wrong. A Taliban fighter doubled back with an AK-47, and Kilo's handler was in the line of fire. Kilo didn't think, he launched. The bullet meant for the man struck Kilo's side. He dropped instantly, but not before taking the enemy down with him. The handler survived. The team survived. And when the mission ended, Kilo wasn't extracted in a cargo bay, but in the arms of two SAS soldiers who refused to leave him behind. The medics worked through the night. Kilo survived, and for his actions, he received full military honors. Not just a medal, but a plaque at the SAS training grounds engraved with a single phrase: he did not hesitate. The cost to train a dog like Kilo, over $80,000. The value of what he did, impossible to measure. Because these aren't just animals, they are soldiers, fighters, heroes, molded by months of isolation, millions in military funding, and elite obedience training that would break a human. And Kilo was not alone, because the next dog didn't just jump into enemy fire. He landed without a sound. Not even the guards inside the compound heard him breach. He was part of a unit so elite that even the French government won't reveal how many exist. Number 9, the Ghost Dogs, France's silent killers of the GIGN. There are no warning barks, no bared teeth, no echoing sounds through hallways, only silence and then impact. These aren't ordinary dogs. They are France's ghost dogs, trained and deployed by the GIGN, the elite counterterrorism unit tasked with confronting the most dangerous threats inside and outside the French Republic. These dogs don't wear leashes. They wear armor, pitch black, bulletproof, and outfitted with infrared cameras streaming live footage back to their operators. At night, they are practically invisible. To the human eye, they vanish into walls, beneath staircases, through broken windows. But to the GIGN command, they are a second set of eyes and the first line of assault. Each dog is handpicked, not for size, not for bite strength, but for silence. Ghost dogs must be unnaturally calm in chaos. They must be able to leap through glass, withstand flashbangs, and stay locked on a target while explosives detonate behind them. And that's just the beginning. The real training starts once they're selected, because ghost dogs don't just chase, they infiltrate. Room clearing, hostage rescue, and deep entry infiltration missions. These dogs are conditioned to memorize floor plans, breach locked rooms, and disarm armed suspects faster than an entire human GIGN team. With night vision cameras mounted to their heads and sound dampening armor covering their bodies, they often sweep buildings before the humans even go in. They've stormed jihadist compounds, located kidnapped journalists, neutralized suicide bombers seconds before detonation. But what truly sets them apart is that they never bark. They give no warning. They glide through darkness like shadows with teeth. Even the soldiers beside them often forget they're there, until it's already too late for the enemy. Each ghost dog costs over $110,000, including biometric gear, ballistic armor, tactical communications, and years of elite level training. But to the GIGN, this isn't a cost. It's an asset, one that saved lives in hostage crises where seconds meant the difference between rescue and massacre. A former GIGN commander said it best: "We don't deploy dogs, we deploy ghosts." Number 8. The KSK Dogs of Germany, the ones that make enemies surrender. They don't lunge, they don't attack, they just stare. And that stare alone has ended firefights before they've even started. These are the psychological weapons of Germany's Kommando Spezialkräfte, KSK. The Bundeswehr's most secretive special forces unit. While most elite dogs are trained to track, bite, or breach, KSK dogs are trained to break a man's will before spilling blood. From birth, these dogs are raised to dominate without moving. Training begins not with aggression, but with control. Eye contact, posture, controlled intimidation. They don't bark unless ordered. They don't move until the signal is given. But when they enter a room, even battle-hardened combatants look away. KSK handlers call them lone wolves. Not because they hunt in packs, but because they hunt like predators. Slowly, calmly, without flinching. And their power doesn't come from how they fight. It comes from what they radiate: certainty. These dogs don't bluff. Every muscle vibrates with tension. Every breath is deliberate. If you run, they'll take you down. If you resist, they'll break your wrist without hesitation. But if you surrender, they won't lay a paw on you. And somehow the enemy knows that instinctively. There are unconfirmed field reports, whispered through KSK channels, not verified by NATO, of Taliban fighters dropping rifles mid-combat, not because they saw soldiers, but because they saw a single dog staring at them from the shadows. No gunfire, no bark, just presence. A mission commander once said, "They don't fight like animals, they judge like executioners." What makes them terrifying is precision. These aren't frenzied attack dogs. They're command weapons trained to use non-lethal force with surgical control. They can subdue without bloodshed, restrain with submission, or force armed men to surrender, just with posture and a low growl. They're not cheap. Each KSK dog costs over $95,000 to breed, train, equip, and condition for special warfare. They wear lightweight Kevlar vests, understand silent German hand signals, and undergo psychological conditioning to interpret human fear responses. But their greatest weapon is the silence before the strike, because in that moment, when nothing happens and the dog just watches, something ancient triggers in the human brain. It says, "Don't run, don't fight, you've already lost." Number 7. Norway's Icefang Dogs, Arctic warfare specialists. While most military dogs are trained for urban combat or desert terrain, there exists a breed so unique, so relentlessly conditioned by nature itself, that it thrives in the one environment that breaks even the toughest soldiers: the Arctic. These are Norway's elite Icefang dogs, bred not just to survive sub-zero warfare, but to dominate it, operating with chilling precision in conditions that paralyze conventional forces. Employed by Norway's special operations units assigned to NATO's Northern Defense Network, these Arctic dogs aren't just scouts or ceremonial mascots. They're battle-tested tools of war, specifically designed to navigate the complex, often invisible threats buried beneath snow-covered battlefields. From the moment their paws hit the ice, their senses engage at a level of environmental awareness that defies conventional military technology. Each dog is selected from bloodlines capable of withstanding extreme cold and trained to navigate hostile terrain where snow can hide 1,000 dangers. Tripwires, pressure mines, fiber optic traps, even insurgents buried under frozen camouflage. Unlike man-made devices that fail in extreme cold or give inconsistent data due to ice interference, these dogs rely purely on refined biological instincts honed through years of tactical conditioning. In one of NATO's most secret Arctic exercises, designed to simulate Russian special forces breaching Norway's northern perimeter, standard surveillance drones failed to detect a hostile entry point buried under more than a meter of packed snow. The Icefang dogs, however, halted mid-patrol, bodies tense, ears up, breathing controlled. While the human operators saw nothing, the dogs refused to advance. Minutes later, explosive specialists uncovered a tripwire and remote surveillance device beneath black ice, exactly where the dogs had stopped. It wasn't hesitation, it was precise execution of learned behavior at the exact moment. Valued at over $120,000 per unit, including gear, training, and deployment costs, each Icefang dog is equipped with thermal regulation articulated vests, cold-resistant paw armor, GPS collars with emergency beacons, and even small combat aid compartments, carrying field dressings, locator strobes, and rations for wounded soldiers awaiting extraction. They're not just trackers and guardians, they're mobile support units in terrain where helicopters can't land and drones can't fly. Their missions rarely involve direct confrontation, but their presence often determines the outcome of engagements in remote, frozen war zones. In polar warfare, where visibility is measured in meters and sound is swallowed by falling snow, it's the dogs who stay silent that often decide whether a unit survives or disappears. Still, even with thermal skills, resilience, and Arctic conditioning, these dogs weren't built for the dark corridors of foreign cities, nor were they prepared to function as extensions of a nation's intelligence network, capable of crossing borders, tracking human targets, and eliminating threats without leaving a trace. Number 6. The Ghost Unit Dogs of Israel. The silent partners of Mossad. In a world where surveillance satellites can track footsteps from space and drones hover invisibly above cities, there's still one tool modern espionage can't replace: a living, breathing organism capable of bypassing the most advanced security networks. Undetected, unheard, and unnoticed, these are Israel's Ghost Unit dogs, the silent partners of the country's counter-terror and intelligence divisions, Yamam and Mossad. And in missions where failure isn't just unacceptable, but untraceable, these dogs are deployed as the final line between operational success and international disaster. Trained in a facility whose location remains classified, these dogs aren't bred to bark, chase, or intimidate. They're bred to disappear into alleys, over rooftops, through windowless corridors, passing heat sensors, infrared lasers, biometric locks, and pressure-sensitive floors. Unlike traditional military dogs, Ghost Unit canines are conditioned from birth to recognize not just human targets, but the architecture itself. They study building layouts, scent maps, airflow patterns, even the frequency of sounds emitted by electronic surveillance systems. During one of the most secret missions in Mossad's recent history, a ghost dog was inserted into a high-security residential compound in Tehran. The objective wasn't to capture a target or trigger an explosive, it was to retrieve a small, encrypted flash drive locked inside a secure room monitored by 3 different alarm systems. No human agent could enter without alerting Iranian counterintelligence, but the dog could. Equipped with a fiber optic camera smaller than a toothpick and magnetic sensors in its padded armor, the dog navigated through tight spaces and ventilation ducts, pausing only to adjust for subtle temperature shifts, signs of active laser grids. Without making a sound or leaving a trace, it reached the secure room door, located the scent trail leading to the hidden compartment, and used its teeth to remove the flash drive, then exited via an alternate route to avoid returning guards. The operation lasted 42 minutes. The dog never made a sound. Cameras never recorded its entry or exit. The flash drive contained names of nuclear scientists. The intelligence gathered led to one of the largest international sabotage campaigns in decades. That single mission justified an annual budget of over $4 million for Mossad's Ghost K9 program. Each dog is estimated to cost over $150,000 to fully train and equip, not including the dozens of counterintelligence specialists who develop their abilities. These dogs undergo desensitization training to ignore sirens, gunshots, even the presence of live explosives strapped to nearby bodies. They are not soldiers. They are living instruments of espionage, operating in environments where human presence is a liability. And though their missions are rarely spoken of, often erased from official records, their outcomes shift geopolitics in ways the public may never fully understand. But if these dogs were designed to recover sensitive intel deep behind enemy lines, the next unit goes even further. Because these dogs weren't trained just to find threats, they were engineered to disable entire machines. Number 5. South Korea's EMP dogs, cyber assault canines. At the crossroads of biotechnology and cyber warfare lies a military innovation so futuristic it sounds like science fiction, but it's real, and it's already operational. These are South Korea's EMP dogs, elite canines deployed in cutting-edge war simulations where the battlefield is both physical and digital, and where the enemy may be a swarm of drones as much as a human adversary. Developed in partnership with the US Cyber Command, these dogs represent the new frontier of kinetic electromagnetic warfare. At first glance, glance, they might appear to be standard Belgian Malinois or German Shepherds, obedient, intelligent, agile. But what sets them apart is what they carry on their backs: a compact directional EMP pulse generator, engineered to disable nearby electronics, surveillance systems, and unmanned aerial vehicles. In a world where every modern battlefield is saturated with sensors, thermal optics, AI-controlled targeting towers, and drone patrols, these dogs are the brute force wave that turns smart tech into scrap metal. The concept was born from necessity during simulated war games involving a potential North Korean invasion across the DMZ. It became clear that traditional foot soldiers, no matter how stealthy, would be instantly detected by the expanding network of hostile surveillance nodes. Infrared drones, facial recognition cameras, and satellite-linked traps made invisibility nearly impossible, unless the enemy's eyes were shut before troops landed. That's where EMP dogs come in. Trained to infiltrate sensor-dense zones at night, these canines learn to locate the densest cluster of electronic signals, then unleash a focused electromagnetic pulse using their mounted equipment. The pulse is precisely calibrated, not strong enough to harm the dog or surrounding infrastructure, but more than enough to fry drone circuit boards, blind thermal cameras, and sever communication links between enemy systems. In one highly classified joint exercise, a single EMP dog disabled 3 reconnaissance drones, 2 field radios, 1 mobile radar unit, all in under 4 minutes. This didn't just allow human agents to pass undetected, it proved that canine-triggered kinetic EMPs are faster, cheaper, and safer than aerial jamming or human sabotage. Each EMP dog unit is valued at over $140,000, factoring in custom hardware, Faraday cage-style shielding, adaptive software that adjusts pulse strength based on ambient radio interference. But their value doesn't lie in their price. It lies in what they neutralize. These dogs aren't trained for aggression. They're trained for targeted destruction of electronic infrastructure, and the implications are massive. In future cyber conflicts, where infrastructure collapses before the first shot is fired, these dogs could lead the charge. But while South Korea uses dogs to eliminate digital threats and blind artificial eyes, the next country uses its elite dogs to protect the most dangerous weapons ever created. Because when nuclear warheads are in play, there is zero margin for error. Number 4. The UK SAS Dogs Defenders of Britain's Nuclear Arsenal. In the dead of night, as the cold sea fog rolls over tall fences and the only sound is the hum of electrified gates, a silent shadow patrols Britain's most critical military sites. It's not a soldier, not a drone, but a dog trained to kill without hesitation. These are the SAS dogs assigned to defend the UK's Trident nuclear submarine bases. And what they protect isn't just national security, it's the future of civilization itself. Because once those gates are breached, it's not just a base that's compromised, it's deterrence that begins to unravel. Deployed by the Special Air Service, the UK's most elite Special Forces unit, these dogs aren't ceremonial mascots or passive deterrents. They are part of the armed response system guarding the infrastructure of the Trident warheads, including the Faslane Naval Base and Coolport Weapons Depot. While submarines remain hidden in the depths, these dogs guard the surface perimeter with a level of precision and lethality unmatched even by human sentries. Unlike standard military dogs, SAS dogs assigned to nuclear duties are trained to operate independently, moving silently through brush, gravel, and darkness. No leashes, no commands, guided only by GPS-linked patrol grids and scent signatures. Their primary targets aren't just trespassers, but potential saboteurs, foreign agents, or even rogue insiders, any threat capable of compromising the UK's nuclear deterrence protocols. Their training pushes the limits of what any living animal can endure. These dogs are conditioned for complete stealth, trained to incapacitate intruders fatally and silently. No barking, no warning, just a low silhouette and a swift, violent takedown. Even night vision cameras have struggled to track their approach. They are a ghost line of defense, striking before alarms are even triggered. In a now famous breach simulation later used in NATO security training, an SAS dog named Fang detected a perimeter breach a full 7 minutes before human guards registered the incursion. By the time reinforcements arrived, the dog had already located, subdued, and immobilized the simulated intruder never once being seen on infrared. Had it been real, a nuclear sabotage attempt could have been neutralized in under 3 minutes thanks to one animal's teeth, reflexes, and instinct. Each SAS dog in the program cost between $90,000 and $115,000, factoring in advanced threat detection training, olfactory biometric recognition, and embedded communication for real-time tracking. But the true value lies in what they protect, the last line of Britain's strategic defense. And as lethal and disciplined as they are, these dogs are made to stop threats from getting in. The next unit is trained to chase the enemy wherever they try to hide, above, below, or underwater. Number 3, Canada's Seesaw dogs. Anti-spy, anti-diver, anti-everything. They operate in silence, with eyes that pierce camouflage and noses that can isolate traces of gunpowder from a football field away. These are the dogs of Canada's Special Operations Regiment, or CSR, perhaps the most versatile military dogs in the NATO alliance. Nicknamed Swiss Army dogs for their stunning range of abilities, these animals are not just trackers or guards, they're multi-environment tactical units, each trained to detect, intercept, and neutralize threats on land, in the air, and even underwater. Unlike traditional military dogs, who may specialize in a single skill such as bomb detection or narcotics tracking, CSR dogs are trained to do all of it, often under extreme operational conditions, whether in Canada's frozen wilderness, urban combat zones in the Middle East, or submerged docks monitored for naval sabotage. These dogs are conditioned to operate in any theater. Their deployment is never random. If a CSR dog is sent, the mission is already high risk. Perhaps most extraordinary is their ability to detect submerged divers, a rare and nearly impossible feat for land-based animals. Stationed along critical naval infrastructure or during maritime operations, these dogs are trained to sense faint chemical trails in water and alert handlers to underwater movement, a vital skill in an era where hostile divers may plant explosives or sabotage undersea operations. And they don't just wait at the surface. Some are trained to dive into shallow water, confront, and even bark underwater, sending sonar-like waves through the water column to alert nearby divers and vessels. But their threat detection doesn't stop at sea. They can sniff out buried munitions, booby-trapped entry points, even tripwires hidden inside walls. CSR handlers rotate their dogs through deep threat immersion training, exposing them to sensory overload and environmental confusion so the dog learns to prioritize danger, not just detect it. This training includes scent profiles of snipers, low signature explosives, and even masked human breath used by deep cover operatives. They're not just tracking movement, they're predicting intent. In recent NATO war games, CSR dogs were credited with locating 4 hidden weapons caches, 2 simulated sniper nests, and 1 underwater approach route before any human sensor systems picked them up. Their performance earned international recognition and led to joint operational exchanges with US SEAL teams and UK SAS units. But what truly sets them apart is adaptability. You can send them into a jungle, a city, or a frozen port, and they'll know what to do even before humans deploy drones. Each CSR dog represents an investment of over $130,000, covering multi-environmental conditioning, classified sensory training, underwater exposure programs, and combat deployment logistics. But the real cost lies in the high-risk missions they fulfill without hesitation, without backup, and often without anyone even knowing they were there. Number 2, the US Navy SEAL dog Cairo, the dog that took down Osama bin Laden. He entered the compound before any man, silent, armored, and laser-focused. The Belgian Malinois, known only as Cairo, wasn't just another military working dog, he was the ghost operator of SEAL Team 6, assigned to one of the most dangerous special operations missions of the 21st century, Operation Neptune Spear, the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. Deployed under midnight skies over Abbottabad, Pakistan, Cairo was more than brute force. He was intelligence, reconnaissance, and security in a single form. Outfitted with custom ballistic armor, a tactical camera, infrared night vision goggles, and a high-altitude oxygen mask, Cairo had trained for years alongside SEALs in total darkness, open fire zones, and complex hostage rescue simulations. He wasn't just prepared, he was born for that moment. While the world held its breath, Cairo had already cleared bin Laden's perimeter, like sniffing out explosives, tripwires, and ambush traps. When the helicopters landed and the team needed absolute certainty that the rooms ahead weren't booby-trapped or holding desperate fighters, Cairo went in first. He moved through narrow halls, stairwells, and blind rooms where a single misstep could have ended the mission, and came out clean every time. According to post-op reports, Cairo confirmed bin Laden's lifeless body after the fatal shot. He cleared the top floor, neutralized an armed guard, and secured the exfiltration route, all while remaining calm under relentless stress. No handler command was needed, just pure instinct, ingrained obedience, and unshakable focus. When the mission ended, Cairo was extracted with full honors, not just as a dog, but as a combatant. He accomplished what no drone, scout, or machine could have done without risking lives. And unlike the rest of the team, he returned without a scratch despite being the first in and the last out. He was so vital. He was insured for $250,000 a figure that doesn't even begin to reflect the classified technologies and years of training he embodied. After the raid, Cairo's name was declassified, but much about his training, tactics, and gear remains sealed. He became a symbol of elite special forces dogs, a silent message to America's enemies. Even our dogs can take you down. Number 1. NATO's Tier 1 Shadow Breed. The $500,000 dog that doesn't exist. These final military dogs aren't just expensive. They're not for sale, not for rent, not for civilians. They're trained in complete secrecy. Even the FBI has been denied access. This is NATO's Shadow Breed, the $500,000 dog that doesn't exist on paper. No badge, no rank, no official presence. But in the dead zones between governments, where black operations are buried under layers of denial, there exists a breed of dog that doesn't just obey. It disappears. Known only to a select few NATO operatives and high-clearance intelligence personnel, these ultra-elite canines are referred to as the Shadow Breed, a label whispered in encrypted channels and redacted post-op reports. These dogs are unregistered, untracked by public systems, and unrecognized by most of the Western intelligence community. Even the FBI, with its wide domestic jurisdiction, was explicitly denied access during NATO joint training drills. The reason? Insufficient clearance. Because these aren't traditional military animals, they are biological weapons made of flesh, bone, and precision. The Shadow Breed's origin is buried deep in NATO's black budget, reportedly created through a classified program of selective breeding and genetic enhancement in labs across Belgium, Germany, and undisclosed Scandinavian locations. They are genetically refined hybrids of Belgian Malinois and Dutch Shepherds, chosen for agility, intelligence, and adaptability in high-risk operations. But what separates them from any known military dog on Earth isn't their bite. It's what they've been surgically altered to survive. Each Shadow Breed dog is born and raised inside a biosafe facility. By 6 months old, they undergo microvascular surgery and neural sync implants, technologies not even available to the most elite human operatives. Their spines are reinforced, lung capacity expanded, retinas enhanced to detect thermal signatures and UV radiation. Even their vocal cords are surgically modified to eliminate barking entirely. These dogs make no sound, not in combat, not in pain, not even when they kill. Training is conducted by CIA-affiliated handlers who undergo months of rigorous psychological screening. Not every elite operator qualifies. Only Tier 1 CIA agents with full black clearance may handle a Shadow Breed dog. Handlers must sign decades-long NDAs and are monitored for behavioral integrity before even seeing the animal. Each dog is equipped with a micro GPS implanted deep in muscle tissue, immune to EMPs and electromagnetic interference. Their fur is treated with bio-silent polymer layers to resist infrared detection and even suppress scent trails. In simulations against Russian Spetsnaz and North Korean border troops, Shadow Breed units evaded thermal drones for over 17 minutes, operating within 5 meters of kill zones without being seen. But their abilities go beyond defense. These dogs are trained to low-altitude parachute, swim silently in Arctic waters, and detect everything from landmines and biological hazards to encrypted cyber equipment in concrete bunkers. Rumors claim one unit recovered a hard drive from a collapsing safe house in eastern Syria minutes before it was bombed. Commands are nonverbal, issued through eyebrow twitches and hand movements only. No spoken words, no digital signals. In one exercise, a handler controlled a Shadow Breed dog through a simulated chemical weapons lab under crossfire without moving more than his face. To this day, no official record confirms the use of these dogs, but military insiders claim Shadow Breed units have operated in Russia, Syria, and Iran, especially during missions too dangerous or obvious for traditional surveillance. One report claims a Shadow Breed dog penetrated a heavily guarded embassy compound in Tehran, bypassed laser sensors, and recovered a biometric token used in nuclear centrifuge activation. Each unit costs over $500,000 to train, equip, and deploy, but that figure doesn't include the full ecosystem of containment, handlers, assessment, investments and R&D that supports them. They are not mass-produced. Each one is a tailored geopolitical tool, and unlike every other canine force in NATO, shadow breed dogs are not available for collaboration, training, or demonstration. In 2022, during a high-level integration session between NATO, the CIA, and FBI in Munich, the FBI requested a limited demo of shadow breed capabilities in facility breach scenarios. The response was short and cold. Request denied. Clearance insufficient. Even within NATO, only a handful of top-level defense personnel have seen these dogs operate. To everyone else, they remain a phantom presence referenced only by code names, tracked via secure messages, and scrubbed from all public records. But the message has already reached those who need it. Enemy commanders in Eastern Europe are said to have issued standing orders. If you see a dog with no bark and no ID, do not engage. Leave the area immediately. That's not respect, that's fear. Because the dogs the FBI can't afford aren't just trained to obey, they're trained to vanish, strike, and never be seen again. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed our content, subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Also, check out the other awesome videos now showing on your screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.